Okay, guys, round one is done. Look at that, looking nice. I am by far the most stressed person. Um, Actually, let me start this. Okay, what's up, guys? I think I have the lav mic high enough. Should be fine. My camera's fine. Oh, damn, that's pretty fucking good, dude. End of first round, excellent. I'm gonna try and sync I have the game recorded here. I won, very exciting. I beat a 1300. Yeah, I don't know. We'll jump right into it. I'm gonna record the. Let me just screen record my other phone here. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm gonna go to chess.com. I'm going to go to analysis, new analysis, and then I'm gonna turn off the engine. Evaluation bar is off. Engine line is off. But we will set it to depth of 20 or whatever, and go from there. Okay, so I was playing with white, and I was obviously a little bit nervous. So it turns out I thought that I had signed up for the U1800, so under 1800 as an unrated player. I don't know what happened in my brain, but I signed up for the under 1500, which is still, I think it goes like 1000, 1200, 1500, 1800, 2100. I think that was the thing. So still on the mid tier of the tournament, I guess, which is I'm 1450 on chess.com, but I've been told by basically everyone that doesn't mean anything in OTB stuff. Okay, damn, I feel like this makes my beard look this angle. Anyway, the game lasted, I think I stopped recording the time as I was going for every couple moves. I'd write down how much time went on. Let's see, the last recorded time, it ended on move 22. So a pretty quick game. Move 19, I wrote down 1 hour 39 for me. I never wrote my opponent's time down. So I think the whole game took about 40 minutes. I think that's how that works. It's the first time I've used a chess clock also, to be honest. Anyway, let me turn the AC on, turn the fan down just a little bit. I don't know, it was relatively straightforward. I had I got excited. I had to keep a poker face. What I think, and maybe we'll see, maybe the engine will show I'm bad, but brilliant bishop sack. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh shit, I can't be losing if I do this. Okay, so we'll get to it. So I've been playing on chess.com. I've been playing a lot of Catalan, Queen's Gambit for both white and black, Queen's Gambit decline, stuff like that. So I started with that. So d4, d5. C4, E6, pretty standard stuff for the Queen's Gambit declined. I did knight C3, he did knight F6, I did knight F3, so this is all relatively standard stuff. Bishop to E7. I can play against it. I hate the line where it's bishop to B4, pinning the knight. For some reason, that just makes me super uncomfortable. I mean, it works out, and I end up being fine conceptually, but this one is a lot more passive, if I'm allowed to use terms like that. It's a lot more passive, so it gives me time to be aggressive. Okay, so bishop to E7, bishop to G5. In this position, or not specifically this position, but generally speaking, when you're pinning the knight, I've seen top players take the knight. As long as it doesn't bring the queen out, I'm not that afraid of it, but so because he was defending with his bishop, I was like, in a lot of these structures, I don't ever use the dark square bishop, so I don't mind exchanging it out. And then and also a lot of times, and my opponent does go h6. I'll put that on the board here. My opponent did go h6. However, I've had a lot of success. I've been told by people better than me, and then I've started doing this where sometimes you can just drop the bishop back to h4, and then sometimes they'll push g5, and you can actually exchange the knight out for that strong bishop. And apparently, and this will come up later, I've seen a few videos, even Daniel Naroditsky, etc. You can insert any YouTuber, but I've talked to people who are better than me at chess in person, and they say oftentimes a minor piece for 2 pawns is like fine and good in certain circumstances. Okay, so I decided not to do that. I took the knight. Bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6. and then I did c takes d5. That basically was, I did a little bit of calculation, because not calculation per se. I mean, this is a line. I think it's called the exchange variation. Chess.com is saying Queen's Gambit Decline modern variation, but you never, I don't know when that stops. But you exchange it in the center, and then you start bringing out your bishop and queen and stuff, and you'll see that in a second. So c takes d5, e takes d5. I think all of this is like, I didn't put any thought. I think even here, so I pushed e4, so just fighting for the center real quick, because that pawn on d4 is still pretty well protected, so I don't mind revealing it or whatever. It's kind of funny. Obviously, this is my first chess tournament. I got a little excited, and I don't know, it was like a brain fart moment, but I push e4, and then I touch his d5 pawn. Like, my brain was like, take the pawn, but I'm the one who just moved, so it's, you don't get two moves. I think that kind of threw him. He looked at me for a second, and I apologized very quietly, obviously. It was about this time that I noticed I hadn't been touching my clock at all, and that my opponent, who had been playing chess for a while, had been touching my clock for me. Like, so I'd make a move and then not do anything, and he would tap my clock and then make a move and then tap his clock. And that, so what, this is move 7, so that went on for like 7 moves before I like noticed what was happening, and I was like, I whispered again, like, sorry. And I don't know, this is probably bad etiquette or whatever. I mean, it's definitely bad etiquette, but I just mean, he seemed fine emotionally about that. So let's see, e4, so d takes e4. I took back with the knight. Knight takes e4, bishop to e7. So he dropped the bishop back. And again, this is all very passive. I actually really would have loved to talk to him about this, because he was an 80-year-old man, and I asked him, like, how long you've been playing chess, and he's like, oh, I started, so he retired, and he started getting into chess, and I was like, do you think we can talk after the game? And he goes, no, to be honest, like, I have to rest in between rounds or whatever, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. And at the end of the game, spoiler alert, I did win. I think I already said that. He kind of just sat there, and he did look tired. Like, he wasn't sad or anything per se, but I kind of took that. And they also said no talking in the playing hall, that there was I had never heard of this. They call it the Skittles room in chess, where you go to do actual analysis and stuff like that. I went there, and I sat in the Skittles room for like maybe 10 minutes, and he didn't come out. And then I went back to the playing hall, and he was gone. So I don't know, I just missed him, or, whatever. There's no blaming or anything, but I don't know, it's just something that I would have liked to talk about and analyze, but that's fine, I don't blame him. Okay, so bishop back to e7, and then I did bishop b5 check, because basically what I decided was, generally in these structures, or in the Queen's Gambit Decline, you want, the bishop is either on the d3 or c4, sort of in that sort of fried liver position, or because they're going to castle kingside, so you want to build up that sort of battery with the queen. And also, sometimes you can push the pawn, and having the bishop there helps you solidify the pawn with the queen. So in my mind, I'm like, it's normal. I've seen it in other games, to check to facilitate them, like, pushing a pawn, and then instead of, like, say, the knight, developing the knight. And if they develop the knight, you can, like, attack it with the pawn. So and then if I exchange bishops, I already know. Well, yeah, I mean, I would have to, like, think a little bit harder about this, but in my mind, I was like, if I can exchange bishops, maybe he takes with the queen, and then I can further develop my knight, and this will be in the video too, you'll see the thing. So, like, if I did something like this, I guess I should do something like whatever, then I could, I don't know, I'm just sort of making shit up. But, even something like this is, like, fine, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how fine that is, actually, but, we could look at it. But generally, my idea was, like, okay, I'm ahead in development. I mean, by far, you'll see on the board, that I'm pretty far ahead in development at this point. So I do the check, and then he does, oh, chess.com's a little bit annoying, because I think I can't make it the main line. I should have done this on lead chess, I think. But anyway, so bishop to b5 check. He blocks with c6. This makes sense. And then I just drop the bishop back. Right, bishop to c4. Yeah. So this is already like really nice for me, I think, structurally. I'm thinking like, okay, his knight has to be eventually on d7. So he's going to have to develop his bishop somewhere, but you'll see that he kind of never does. And I don't know if this is specifically a function of the Queen's Gambit declined or the Catalan or whatever, or just simply, this isn't the Catalan, but I just mean these sort of aggressive d4 things. Okay, so I haven't, at this point I was not actually calculating anything, although obviously I imagined attacking that f7 pawn. Okay, so bishop c5, c4. Okay, and then he castles. So I already think that this is sort of, I mean, this might not be a mistake conceptually, but he's like not developed at all, and I get that he's trying to get to safety, but he literally castles into like where all my pieces are facing that direction. So that in my mind, I'm like, okay, I have to just turn up the heat. Like in my mind, I'm just like, okay, I'm like, this has to be winning to some degree, or at least this has to be pretty good for me. So let's see, knight, okay, sorry, castles, queen b3. Okay, so I build up the battery. I had a long time thinking about, and you'll see this, is there any way to make this like the main, or whatever. I had a long time thinking about how, okay, let me just make the actual moves first, and then I'll do the deviations. Yeah, that'll be better. Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna restart this analysis. D4, D5. Push. Knight F3. Oh yeah, I didn't do knight F3, but that's fine. The move order is, you know what? Move order is important to me. D4, D5. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Right? D4, D5, C4, E6, knight C3, knight F6, knight F3, bishop to E7, and then I attack bishop to G5, whatever, takes, or no, pushes, takes, drops back, bishop to E5, E4, D takes E4, knight takes E4, bishop to E7, bishop D5, check, C, bang, check, or castles, bishop, C4, castles, okay, queen B3, now we're back at it. There are some calculations that I'll show that I did here. Conceptually, I really just wanted to, in my mind, I'm like, is it more aggressive to do knight F3 to knight E5, so knight to E5 before doing the queen. I also thought about just A3 or A4, because I know that that's part of like the minority attack, as it were, but this isn't really the Carlsbad structure anymore. And look at me using big words. So I ended up just deciding to go with queen to B3, just because I know that that is literally, first of all, it's bringing more pieces to, I'm not now moving two pieces before like another one. I'm bringing the queen out. It's more pieces to the attack. So okay, so like let's say right now if I had gone knight to E5, I could take the pawn and just exchange the get a rook for the bishop, knight, and a pawn. But whatever. So I decided to go with the queen, and then queen A5 check. This is something that I had considered, but to be honest, as soon as he did it, for some reason I like froze. I had been concerned about either the bishop check or the queen check, and I had decided to do knight to C3 a while back, but then I was like, oh, if he does the bishop check and I do knight to C3, he can, I won't really be able to castle. I mean, I could castle, I guess. I would have, or I could block with the knight on E5, but, and I'll show all these calculations later, at least what I thought of at the moment. But I was kind of glad that he did the queen thing, because I was like, okay, that's fine, I'll just block with the knight. And then I honestly was thinking that he was either going to move the rook to e8 or further develop his pieces. I was a little bit worried about already about b5, but spoiler alert, I had seen a potentiality for a good move. Not in this position per se, I think. We'll see what the computer says. Okay, so queen a5, check. I did knight c3, knight d7. So he's starting to go. This was another move, right? Because I'm thinking like, oh my god, I really would like knight on e5, because that would just like kill the king. So I had to be like, I had to think a lot, and I'm thinking like, okay, I probably should just castle if I'm thinking this hard. So I did. And then he did knight f6, and I was like, okay, this can't be right. This can't be a good move, because first of all, there's nothing to pin my knight to, so he could never like in my mind this opens the bishop, right? But where's the bishop going to go? In my mind, the bishop doesn't do anything, and then that knight was stopping e5, which is my idea for a killer move, or my not the idea that I referenced, but it would be it strengthens my attack. So I knew it had to be winning. So if I had my watch on, you probably would have seen like my heart racing. I started like my palms were sweaty and my knees were weak. You know what I mean? So knight did e7. Oh, sorry, castle. Knight f6, and then I did a3 here because I was just like, okay, I don't really want that. Now that my rooks are connected, I don't want the bishop attacking my knight. At some point, I want to move the knight. And then I had this thought of, and like I said, I'll put it in the sidelines, of queen to a2, and then pushing the pawn just to knock that queen out. But in my mind, I'm like, actually, that's probably not that good of an idea, because the queen's on the board, on the side of the board, and really not doing anything. It's kind of a shitty piece in this position, and I would rather keep the queen not doing anything. So his queen's effectively out of the game at this point. So I did a3, he did b5, and this is where that brilliancy, that thing that I was talking about, I sat there just to calculate a little bit more, because I'm like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm not just one moving, you know what I mean, thinking to myself like I'm a genius and I'm not doing anything. But here I did, and we'll see what the computer says, but I did, where is it, knight b5, yeah, I take bishop f7 check here. The idea being, if he takes with the king, or he can't take with the king, sorry, so if he moves the king, I can still develop my knight, and then that's pretty aggressive, right? Because then if he goes to say like h7, I can check, and then check again with the knight on what would then be f7, etc. So these are all the things that I was thinking. And then if he takes with the rook, I can still go e5 with the knight. Now the queen is definitely out of the game, and that's either a free rook, or and you'll see in the game he blocks with his knight on d5, but then I can take the pawn that is protecting that knight, or actually I could take the knight first, and then you'll see. I'll do the thing, because I'm mixing up a bunch of lines in my head, but these are all things that I calculated. That's all I'm saying. So bishop takes f7. You can even see here, if I can move my camera a little bit, the scoreboard. I wrote the double exclam. I was so excited about this move. Okay. Okay, hopefully that's not peaking. Okay, bishop takes f7. He did rook takes f7. And then, of course, I do knight to e5. Now he is going to block. So knight to e5, knight d5. And I was just like, well, I still have an attack. So I calculated some things, taking the rook with the knight first, then taking with the knight. I calculated taking the knight, and then he moves his bishop to e6. I calculated a few other things, mostly the idea being c6 is like a fork of the bishop and the queen, and also will be a check if I take the bishop. So I'm thinking of all this stuff sort of semi-concretely, but also like in general, I'm like, what my brain is doing is like, these can't be bad moves. So I would calculate a few moves out, like maybe 2 or 3 moves of like just making sure that I'm not hanging something. But generally, like, I'm in this position where I'm like, this cannot be bad. I'm either going to win a piece or I'm going to like just crowd his king. Okay, so knight d5. I did knight takes d5. And I gotta say, nothing against the tournament. It's not as professional that I thought. It's pretty professional. First of all, they tell you to turn your phones off, I guess. The playing halls are dead silent, and it's really nice. They're like small rooms that fit like maybe 20 people per. Everyone's very respectful. But for instance, like if I had wanted to, I could have cheated. I mean, there was no security. There was no, like, I could just go to the bathroom. Now, I did have to leave my cell phone upside down on the table. It was not allowed to be on my person. You had to demonstrate in front of an arbiter that you put your phone in either your bag that was under people's, people brought backpacks, to put it under your table, or you have to put your phone directly on, with my watch, directly upside down. It was weird because they wouldn't let me put it in the back of the room, but I don't know if that was just a liability thing or what. Like, I was like, can I just throw my phone over in the corner? And they were like, no. So it had to be off, no airplane mode, no nothing. It had to be completely off, and it had to be face down. And, but what I'm getting at is, for instance, they didn't double check my scorecard. First of all, I don't know where my opponent went, which is fine, but they said that we are responsible for recording the result. So I thought me and him had to go back to the registration hall and sign a document. He didn't sign my scorecard. I didn't sign his scorecard. I literally went back to the registration and I said, where do I record the results? Because I don't know where my opponent is. And they said, oh, here's a piece of paper. And they're like, just tell us who won. Like, I mean, fine, okay. I mean, like, I have the scorebook here. I don't know if I didn't see if they had cameras, to be honest with you, but, like, why could, I don't know. Well, anyway. And it's just to be clear, it's a fully, rated tournament. I would have thought that would require, like, signing and stuff, but I don't care. I mean, I won. My opponent's not a dirty dude. You know what I mean? I didn't get the conception that he was going to, like, lie. Okay, so a3 bishop takes knight d5. And for instance, like, the reason I just thought of that is because I wrote opponent plays knight d5, move 17, move 18. I wrote knight d5 instead of knight takes d5, and I was like, okay, is that going to be problematic? But it's just not. No one cares. So knight takes d5, and then he did bishop to e6, which was the kind of the one move that I was worried about, but I was like, that's still a free pawn with a fork. So I took. Not that. I did knight takes c6. Obviously he had to move. Sorry. Obviously he had to move his queen, and his queen was pretty jammed up, right? So he could have, I guess, exchanged the queen there. I would have taken with a check first, I guess, and then taken his queen. But conceptually, his queen was basically screwed. So he went to queen to a6, and queen a6, and knighted, knight d takes e7, to be clear, because I wanted to open up an attack on the bishop. I don't know if this is the best move. I thought about other things, but I was like, okay, this is going to consolidate down. It actually wasn't until after we consolidated that I saw the next move that won me the game, but so I didn't calculate that far ahead, and maybe that's a weakness on my end, but I think it worked out. So rook takes, take back with the knight, and then he did king to f7. I wrote king to f1. I don't know why I did that, but rook f7, and then or king f7, sorry. And then I did queen to f3 check to take the rook. I didn't see this particular move until he did king to f7. And then he literally reached his hand out and said, I resign. So that is it. So let me, if I hit share, does that just save the I mean, I feel like I feel like I was just pretty aggressive in this game, and I think it worked out. I think he made a couple like very passive moves. I don't know what would be considered a blunder. Nothing like, except for that knight to f7 move. I don't think he like blundered anything. I think he was just like really slow, and he didn't develop. And so I just had a really, really strong like aggressive thing, and I that does just get scary. I would have had a queen and 2 rooks for a queen and a bishop. I'm reasonably confident that what I would have done was I would have probably just pinned with, like, it would have been knight to e1, or sorry, rook to e1, pinning the bishop, and then I would probably just take the bishop so that I would be a rook and a queen and a rook versus a queen. Honestly, that's what I was thinking of. I would have probably thought hard. I mean, I still had an hour and a half before move 40. So I would have spent some time, but generally speaking, I'm like, I can't fucking lose this. I'm not like new to chess. Okay, so maybe I should turn the engine on, or maybe I should go back to any major move. I don't know how much I should talk about, because I sort of talked about it already. I'm trying to decide. Like, I mean, I could show these variations. Maybe I'll just show the variations with the computer. I don't know. I might regret. I'll do this first game. I'll just show the variations with the computer, and then we'll do evaluation bar, engine lines. So I'm completely winning. This is plus 8.5, but we are going to do a game review, and we'll see. So anyway, I'm very happy. What can I say? It's I'm just gonna get some coffee and some food, but I'm not gonna end this right away. But it's hard for me, and I'll probably talk to some other people who play better chess than I do, of like, how should I analyze this game? Was it luck? Or, I mean, I don't consider it luck. I mean, I knew what I was doing, but like it didn't feel like there were a lot of tricky things in there. Like, it felt like by like move 10, I was like, okay, I'm steamrolling. I don't know, like, I like, yeah, there are some things that, like, we'll see. Okay, so it says I played with 89.6% accuracy. My opponent played 76.5. Let's see. It does say I got a brilliant. I'm gonna bet it's the bishop one. So d4, d5, c4. This is all book move stuff. Okay, so immediately, I think that, I don't know if that threw him off, or I stepped out of book first on move 8. So I had 7 moves of theory, which is kind of cool. I have seen, and I think probably on Blitz, I've probably done queen to b3 plenty of times. I get that it brings it out or whatever, and it lets you attack the pawn. But in my mind, I fucking was like, dude, I'm ripping the center open and I'm going for it. I'm going strong. That was my thought. I was just like, I'm already ahead in development, and this move will only increase my development. So that was my thought. I don't know if this is like punishable at my level. It's only minus 0.5. I've come back from worse online, so I don't know. And then, yeah, this has to be an inaccuracy just because you've moved the same piece twice. I didn't foresee castling, to be honest with you, but I guess it makes sense. Because I assume you would, I assume if you castle, yeah, that would just bring the queen out. And okay, yeah. I don't know if I would have done that. So one thing that I'm trying to do is, there's a lot of times that, at least in Blitz, where I think I have a really strong attack or a really strong position, and I go for it and then I lose, and then when I go back, the engine will always say something like, I don't know, just picture like a vague position that you think is winning, and the engine will always say something like some quiet move, like pushing a pawn one space or something on the other side of the board or something. And I realize it's because, like, even if you're in a good position, it doesn't mean that it's time to pounce. You know, you have to let your opponent make some mistakes or whatever. For instance, I'm seeing here that if I took the bishop, I mean, it brings the queen out, and my king is not protected. Okay, so that's fair. So let's back up. Takes. Okay, best move. Best move. Happy about that. And then, so I get king safety. Again, I mean, this, first of all, it says minus 0.42, so that's not that scary to me personally. I totally get king safety. You know, I'm not an anti-king safety kind of guy. But in my mind, I'm like, dude, this guy's not developed. I gotta, like, gun it. That I don't know. I don't know if that's, like, still a good idea or not. So yeah, I'm seeing here that they just want to do this, and I guess that makes sense. So it's, now I'm putting a little bit more of a passive position. And then, oh, okay, so I guess you got to do something like that, or you could move the queen. No, because you need to defend against, so you might want to do something like this. Anyway, yeah, something to that effect. I would have played differently, but my opponent did not do that. It's funny because at one point I thought, like, nope, not here. What did I do? Like, if I went like this, at one point I thought, like, yeah, I would have to do something. Okay, I don't know if it works. Yeah, interesting. I'd go through this, but obviously I went against this line specifically, the moving the knight first, because it looks nice, but I know that if I get checked, it's not good for me. Right, so if he castles and I do this, and he does that, like, okay, maybe I could do something like this, but yeah, I didn't actually, genuinely, I did not calculate like stuff like this out. But I know it's not like, hello? I know it's not like terrible to have this kind of, okay, it literally is terrible because my king is not safe. Okay. I'm okay with that. Again, so he just didn't capitalize on that. Okay, so this is obviously, I considered this to be the best move, and the knight to d7, and I'm glad that I sort of foresaw that in my mind. And then castle's like just a clear example. Okay, so it's an accuracy, not a blunder, because, oh, well, but see, this should be a blunder, right? Because it goes from minus 0.12, so basically 0, to plus 2.83, so basically plus 3, and yeah, so I get that this is a miss, right? Because I'm going to be winning a rook. I get that that's a miss, but in my mind, what was I thinking? If I do this, oh, you can still sack, yeah. What happens if you, what are you doing? Oh, okay, you. Okay, what is chess.com telling me to do? Okay, so it just wanted me to, anyway. Okay, so I get that. But it's so crazy that that's like a minus 3. I guess it's just because it's slow as fuck. And then this is my brilliancy. Okay, so I had some improvements to do. It's funny because in some cases, as you were just saying, as I was just saying, as you were just hearing, in some cases I was like, okay, I know it's probably more accurate to do queen to, like, I don't know, b3 or whatever in this position, but I was like, I'm gonna just be super aggressive and attack the center, and then, you know, and here it's kind of funny, I'm suddenly too passive, too scared. But it's true, like, what can the queen do? You know? So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we go here, and I was like, fuck, this is so brilliant. Yeah, I thought about this pawn push, but okay, I honestly didn't really see that it was protected by the queen. I hope that doesn't sound dumb as fuck, but I saw this pawn push and I was like, yeah, but I want to keep or I want to attack the rook. Literally, that was my thought process. Interesting. So I could do something like that. Wow. I did not see the strength of that at all. Oops. Oh, fuck. Yeah, okay, that's dumb. Okay, yeah, I don't want to just... Whatever. It doesn't matter. So he goes here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's not a line that I calculated at all, and obviously I'm not a grandmaster, but... so winning enough move. The game is basically over, right? So if he takes... And he goes here... I imagine that would be... yeah. Yeah, you definitely don't want to exchange... Anyway, so that's the game. Pretty excited. I gotta get food and maybe a coffee or something. We'll see. But the next round doesn't start till 5 and it's 12:30. So, yeah, I'm doing good.